Hi, it's about time I said what I want to say to my family. There's a lot I want to say, actually. A lot. A great deal I want to say. But everything I want to say will offend someone, if not everybody. You all know I'm different. All of you know I'm different. Been different all my life. But I was never allowed as a child to share myself. I was never allowed to speak. Oh, not now, Peter. Not now. Another time, is what my mother would often say. And I would say to her, well, when can I? I don't know. Another thing she would say is, you knew that would upset me by saying that. As some of you know, me and my mum battled quite a lot. I was very emotional as a child, as you know. And I was heavily medicated as a child, as some of you know. I had severe problems when I became an adult, as it were, when I entered into the world. I had no preparation, no real foundation, no sense of me. Throughout my childhood, I was always gravitating towards God in some form or another. I was a churchgoer. I gravitated towards music a great deal, as you all know. I don't know how my immediate family put up with me playing the piano, because I wasn't really playing it very decently, I don't think. I think I banged it all the time, didn't I? Can you imagine it? I can imagine. It's terrible to think back on that, how you all put up with that. And then I had all these temper tantrums. Why? Because I wasn't allowed to be a person. I wasn't. I was so sensitive. I used to sit like this, if some of you might remember, in the sitting room with a cushion next to my head. If I said to you I don't have a family, if I said to any one of you I don't have a family, you would say, don't be so silly, Uncle Peter, or Peter, don't be so silly. Of course you've got a family. No, I haven't got a family. Not in the sense of my definition of a family. If I said to you, have you got a carpenter you can recommend? You would say yes, possibly. And what would I expect a carpenter to be able to do? If I said to you, do you know of a plumber? You say, yes, I know an excellent plumber. So, what would I expect that excellent plumber to be able to do? So, what are my expectations of family? As a child, I used to think, I would love to have a family, but here I am, bachelor, no children. I had no idea that I wouldn't have a family. I expected myself to have a family. But I haven't got a family, really. Have I? Come on. I'm going to start saying names, but I don't want to offend anybody. But I will say that Mary is the closest of my family. I have battled and battled in my head over my younger sibling, battling all the time in my head for 40 years. My expectations of her have always been backfired, always backfired. I have been hurt tremendously. As you all know, I have tried so hard to bring us all together. I tried to arrange 1 or 2 occasions every year that we all got together. I used to have my little tea parties here. I loved it. Did you not love it? But then that all fizzled out, not due to COVID. I would say, wouldn't it be lovely to see you? And no reply. I remember sending you all lovely pictures of my garden and saying, wouldn't it be lovely to have a tea party here? No one replied to that. Hardly any of you replied to my music videos. No, that's not true. I think the main two are Mary and Katie. They're not even acknowledged. How painful. How hurtful. Why am I sharing this with you? Because I don't want it ending on my deathbed. I don't want to be thinking these thoughts on my deathbed that I haven't shared it with you before I die. And I could be dead tomorrow. Now, this is nothing new. This is typical throughout the whole world. People with grievances towards their siblings and families. When I became an adult, as it were, living in the world, living on my own, I witnessed how other families lived and how they would cooperate with one another and how they did things for one another. Now, I've no grievances, none whatsoever. I've no issues with any of you. I have had them, none whatsoever. Why? Because I am enlightened. I am awake. I know the ridiculousness of human nature. But I also know a place that transcends all of that nonsense. It's all what I call being already happy, already rested, already still and mature. There's very little maturity in our family. My parents rowed all the time. We were screaming, upstairs on the landing when they were downstairs arguing. I banged my head every night from a baby. I still occasionally wake up banging my head and shouting out in the middle of the night. Nightmares. I attempted suicide 4 times. One was almost that. Mary asked me why did I do it when I first. Mary has shown me a lot of love, a lot. It's not too late to amend the past, to change your habits. There's lots more I could say. No doubt you've got things you could say about me. And one of the things, obviously, is the history of what happened, 12 years ago. That must have been devastating for you all. But the circumstances were such that it was inevitable it would happen. But it wasn't an intention. There certainly was no abuse. But you see, you're not mature enough to come and sit with me and talk to me about it. Or talk about anything. I say I love you all. I do. I look at your pictures most days. I send you emails. I embrace you. I encourage you. I continue to do that even though it's hurtful when I don't get acknowledgements. A person who is awake is likened to an open hand. You're so vulnerable. Whereas most people are living like clenched fists. And finger pointing over time. It's your fault. Your fault. I've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of finger pointing. But I don't finger point anymore. Because I understand that suffering is our own doing. We do our own suffering. We're all going to die. But the worst part is not being embraced. Not being... I was never allowed to have a point of view. Never. Anyway, as a child, some of you don't know, of course, I found a surrogate family. And they loved me, and they embraced me, and they fed me, and we had lovely meals and lovely outings together. And I attended their church, and I played the cello and piano there, harmonium. I share myself with you all. I share my music. I asked recently, because of COVID, I asked for you to give me something to work at. Only my cousin, Jane and Mary have sent me a request. Why not the others? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why aren't I being embraced? Why not? Anyway, this little video is to help you to understand me. To help you to understand that this way of living is foolishness. It's absolute foolishness. We've got to break free of that nonsense. Being enlightened is an extremely, not difficult, but the path to enlightenment is extremely difficult. That's what I've been about all my life. As a child, I would kneel beside my bed. Lord, Lord, help me be a lovely person, a better person. I'm the reason my parents row. I'm the reason that they're always arguing. I'm the reason for the difficulties in my family. I put the blame on me. I pray to God to make me a better person. Please, can I be more and more like Jesus? I don't want to be a follower. I want to be like Jesus. I've studied a great deal. I've read many, many books and stories about people who have realized what we call realized God, realized that place of happiness, joy, delight, love, that place of intimacy, that place of no problems, that place of no concerns. We're all going to die, so we've got to decide what we want to do between now and death. Is it to earn money? To live like headless chickens? We're all going to be on that deathbed one day. I know you may not like me saying this, but we're going to be on that deathbed one day, and what's going to go through our mind? I had a great, lovely 8 years with Desmond. Fantastic 8 years. He embraced me. He loved me. I loved him. Look how easy I'm talking. Easily. I'm not finger pointing. I'm just mentioning what's happened in my life. And there's no blame. The lady, the surrogate family I mentioned earlier, the lady there, she said, I can remember her saying to me, You point one finger at one person, you point a finger, and 3 fingers are pointing back at you. We're all so easy to blame. The opposite of blaming is to take responsibility. Responsibility for every feeling and thought we have in our body-mind. I know more than psychiatrists and psychoanalysis, psycho, what are they called? Psychotherapists, counsellors. I know more about how to rear children, how to bring them up. I have been neglected. I have not been embraced. I lived in a community for 3 years. I've been in many places. I've done so many different jobs. I've produced professional cellists. I've been on that stage hundreds of times playing to audiences. I've been soloist. I've been principal cellist many times. I've had standing ovations. But I knew there was something lacking. I was a fantastic teacher. My pupils won many competitions at the town hall, in the festivals. But there was something missing. There was something I didn't feel comfortable in myself. And I knew when I was in my 20s and early 30s that there's something not right. I shouldn't rely on other people to make me happy. It's not fair. Because when I started teaching, I felt very responsible for every single note that my children, my pupils, played. I took the onus upon myself. Extremely stressed out due to my own doing. But I continued to teach, and people flocked. I didn't advertise. It was all word of mouth. And all that with this underlying current of anxiety, of inferiority. I felt so inferior. I went to 2 colleges. I went to college, my first college, and I couldn't do the teaching practice. I just felt incapable. But I had high marks. So I went to a second college, to the music school. In the second year, I had ECT. I wasn't embraced by my family. But that's understandable. I wasn't embraceable, maybe. It was a vicious circle. It wasn't appropriate for seven of us to live in such a small house. It just wasn't. It didn't work. It couldn't work. It's not practical for 7 human beings to be in such a confined space. I was teased no end, ridiculed, mocked. John used to think that it was due to him teasing me and mocking me that I had my problems. He blamed himself. I'm not very good at writing. This is why I'm much happier to speak about these things. And it's better because you can see my facial expressions. I'm 66 2 weeks' time. I'm a pensioner. And I'm as happy as a tomboy, as they say. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to suffer again. Doesn't mean I'm not going to screw myself up again. Doesn't mean I'm not going to bang my head at night and have a nightmare again. These habits die hard. As long as I don't dramatize it, just let it be, let it happen, and not let it just come and go, as it were. Do any of you know what it's like living on your own? Well, I lived in my first flat, it's in Sydenham Road. Who visited me? I used to hold little Christmas concerts, not Christmas teas there. I love doing it all, bringing the family together. Got some lovely pictures of you all, including the Wood family, Paul's family. But yes, I've been a bastard. And that's what this is. There's nothing more. A clenched fist disposition is manipulative, is full of strategies, selfish strategies, no matter how unselfish it might seem to be. Very selfish. This disposition of living is painful. And can you see two people coming together like clenched fists? One has to give. One has to relax that. How do you do it? Well, that's in some ways a secret. Not that I want it to be a secret, but it's something you have to realize yourself. And that's what we call God realization is. I don't care what you're thinking right now. I really don't. They're your thoughts. But I have a right to share, just as you have a right to share. But I don't want you sharing this. I want you to share this with me. I want to feel embraced. I have lots of lovely friends, and every day is a happy day for me. I do Airbnb, but it's locked down now, so that's not happening, but I have great reviews. I'm known as a super host. I'm comfortably off. Got enough money. But I love the fact that I might win more on the premium bonds. I've won every month so far, these last 3 or 4 months. And can I say, check your bank accounts. My nieces and nephew, you might receive a little bit more, a little gift now and again. So check your bank accounts. You never know what your uncle's popped in. As a child, when I was about 8 or 9, I used to steal money, or not steal, but take money from my mother's purse in order to buy sweets, to give away in order to make friends. That's how I see it now. But maybe I wasn't doing that to make friends. Maybe I just gave it. But that's what I did. I stole money in order to buy sweets. I went down to Pete Smith's on the way back to school during my lunch hour. Did I go on my own? I don't remember. I used to buy sweets to give away. But it didn't work. I've been different all my life. I've been a loner all my life. I was ridiculed and teased at school and punished at school. No wonder I couldn't cope as an adult. I'm unqualified, with respect, no written qualifications, but my experience and my ability to play both the cello and piano to a reasonably high standard have carried me through. Much of it self-taught, due to my sensitivity and great intuition of how to play and teach. But I was put down. And I put myself down because I was put down. We didn't have a father. We weren't fathered. My mother did her best. She mothered us as well as she possibly could. But she had her problems of the mind. And it seeps through it. We pick up on it. But I'm not going to be put down by anybody anymore. You have your points of view, but I'm not going to be put down anymore. That's not to mean I'm going to come along and argue my point of view. No, I just remain quiet, listen to yours, leave it at that. But not seeing my nephews and nieces growing up, not being part of their partying and their celebrations, and very hurtful. I sometimes want to write a list like, I'm looking forward to having a fish and chips supper with you, or looking forward to watching a video with you, a movie, or looking forward to having a walk with you, which I did with my sisters 2 weeks ago or so, and that was absolutely wonderful. But I've tried. Will that happen again on a regular basis? I love you dearly, absolutely. I never give up. Whenever I had a row with my mother, I was always the one to amend it. I was always the one to return. But then I had to see my mother as an individual and not as my mother. I think that happened late 20s or early 30s. I started to see her as an individual, Yvonne Wood. Every time I attempted to, embrace, it backfired, just as it does throughout my adult life. My attempts have backfired. My attempts to bring us together backfire. I remember Sarah saying to me when I went into the kitchen in Ellenborough Road, I was so elated by the fact that my cello student, Anna, she had won the highest mark for her grade 6 exam in the country. The highest mark, 143 out of 150. That was the highest mark. And I went into the kitchen and I was sort of in tears of joy and happiness. And Sarah said, you said, Sarah, that we won't know unless you tell me. You won't know unless you tell us. Well, it's also nice to be asked. And that's the thing, to show an interest in your siblings' lives. I remember when I used to go to Tewkesbury to teach, I would pop in and see Mary, and there would be sweets for the children, etc. Anyway, I don't know whether I've been a bad uncle. Forgive me if I have been. Forgive me if I've been a bad brother. Forgive me. Let's make it up. Invite me over. Invite me in. Let's have a beer together. Yes, I do drink beer. Yes, I've gone through weird diets as well. But I don't eat meat, but that's no big deal. It's nothing unusual nowadays. Might eat some fish. It'd be nice to know that there's a herbal tea for me when I arrive. This is for Peter. Do something little for me. Now's your chance. When I send a text, let me have a reply. Doesn't have to be immediate, but reply. Don't say I can't be bothered to reply, or I can't afford to send a text, or whatever. I'm a brother. I'm a human being. I feel. I'm on my own. I should be embraced. I used to think, these thoughts came to my mind. Can I share you my thoughts? Another thought. When I was younger, I used to think, well, why can't my sisters say, oh, let's make a cake for Uncle Peter. He's on his own. Let's make a cake for him. Was I not approachable? Did you see me as an unapproachable person when I was younger? How do you see me now? And what you think of, seeing me right now is different to what you think. We all know what's in the head isn't real. It's imagination. It's an illusion. It's delusional to think. You may not listen to this. I don't know. You may not be. You may not be alive tomorrow. I don't know. I remember Mary saying when we went to John's wake, pity we meet like this. It's been nice to meet other than at wakes. Well, I've tried to bring us all together. Katie's got the most beautiful garden. Now she's got a huge house. Is that going to be shared with her family? On a regular basis? What's wrong with us all? Are we afraid of one another? Yes, that's what it is. It's fear. Fear prevents us from being happy with one another. Everyone's criticizing one another. Mary's house, look at beautiful, beautiful garden. Took Auntie Diane and Uncle John over there a month or so ago, or 6 weeks ago. And Mary said we should meet more often. Has it happened? You get bogged down in your emotional problems with one another. And what I've heard recently, I find it very difficult. It's not pleasant to hear that people aren't happy with one another. This is happening throughout the whole world, and people don't talk because of fear of being hurt, fear of becoming violent even, fear of shouting and screaming, running away. Done enough of that. Getting tearful over it all. Yes, so what? It's okay to cry. But let's change our habits. Do something different. Like I'm doing now. Which isn't difficult to do when you're happy. Nothing is difficult to do when you're happy. And that's the secret of life, to find happiness right now. My great nieces and nephews are all growing up. But are they growing up with disciplines? Do they have skills that they're learning that they can continue throughout their lives? I often thought, well, why don't you ask me to teach your children? No one has. No, not one person in my family has ever gotten me a piano or cello student. No, not one. I can't believe it. You have business cards for plumbers and carpenters, and you recommend this person, and you recommend that window cleaner. Have you ever recommended me to teach someone? Maybe you have. No one in my family has really shown an interest in my life. Ongoingly. I mean ongoingly. But I will reiterate, Mary has done more than anyone else. Right from the time she came up to Huddersfield with me, Lucy and Katie. And don't go feeling bad. Take a deep breath and say, yes, Peter's right. I haven't done enough. I'm going to do a bit more. Don't put me in the refuse bin. Don't push me aside again. These little videos I do myself playing, they're not easy to do. You come to almost to the end, you make a mistake, I make a mistake, and you have to retake. And the numbers of takes I did on those Schindler List pieces, they're not perfect, and there's a couple of places with blemishes, you may not notice them. But I'm willing to have a go at any piece if you'd like me to play it for you. Record it. Are you proud of me? What happened 12 years ago may be a difficulty. Can you overcome, can you transcend that? Don't let that be a problem. Think what it's been like for me to walk out of my house in the neighbourhood. Think how, no longer a respected piano and cello teacher. I want to write a book. I've got a lot of material out there to make a movie. We can't pretend. Let's stop pretending all the time. When you go out into the country for a country walk, you say, oh, isn't this beautiful? But look around you, there's death all the time in the country. And there's ugliness in the country. You can't have one without the other. We all know that. Yeah, I'm pleased that I've made this little video. I don't want to finger point, of course not, but it's important that I'm allowed to embrace my family and to talk about my family to one another and to iron out the creases, iron out the difficulties. If I don't share, if I don't do it now, when will I do it? When I'm on my deathbed and you're coming to me and saying sorry, and then there's no chance of, no time left to remedy, to rectify. I've watched Desmond die. I was in that hospital for 30 days, and the medics were trying to keep him alive to bring him back to England. Absolutely dreadful. I sat with him and nursed him 24/7, except for when I went down for a meal or went for a walk. Didn't like leaving him for a walk. He loved me, I loved him. He would say, Peter, why do you love me? By Desmond. And I said, because I do. And I said, I'm here for you. And I have some lovely memories of my sisters and my nieces and nephews. I have some lovely memories. But they're few and far between. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I shouldn't expect any more. Love is an act, not a word. And this is a loving act, what I'm doing right now. I don't know whether I'll send it. I don't know. But it was prompted because I was an offence. Once again, I offended a member of my family. But I didn't offend. The person was offended. Oh, excuse me. choose not to know me, fine. Let me know if you don't want me in your family, in your life. If you do want me in your life, then start embracing me. I'm going to get older. I want to grow old, knowing that I've got lovers in my life, people who love me and are seen to love me. It is difficult. Human relationships are extremely difficult. And due to the fact that we don't share and meet on common ground, as it were. It's like playing duets or trios or an ensemble. We have to share mutual ground. We have to be in agreement. So, going back to the beginning of what I said, we all know what we expect of a carpenter. We all know what we expect from a plumber. And it's an agreement, it is no doubt unanimous. We all expect a plumber to do a particular skill or have a particular skill, and that's unanimous. So what is it that we can be unanimous about? As a family, we have to be united. There has to be an agreement. I don't like all these separate units. How do we come together? If we all like Indian, let's all have an Indian curry together. Some of us don't like Indian, but we all like English, let's have an English fish and chip supper together. It's doing things together that we all can do together. Mary asked me a few weeks ago, why didn't you come over? I don't know whether it was real what she said, or it was sort of tongue-in-cheek. Come over and help Rob chop the wood. Well, I'm very happy to come over and chop the wood with Rob. Would he like that? When you're happy to do anything. Some of you know I worked for John Anton Smith in Presbury as an acre of land. I did everything and anything there. Back-aching stuff. All that stuff. When I was employed by the hotel, the Plough Hotel, when I was 18 or 19, I was employed by the manager to be sort of a hotel porter. I ended up doing everything. Bed making to bartending. Loved it there. And when I worked in Tesco's, I did everything. Loved it there. I've loved all my jobs. The candle factory in Huddersfield. The petrol station in Evesham Road. The newspaper job, well, I didn't last long being a newspaper boy. But the music has always been a struggle with me. It's been like a relationship, a marriage, 2 marriages. I've been a bigamous all my life, cello and piano. Couldn't decide which one to concentrate on more than the other, But thank you for being in my life. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone's so busy because they think they've got to do this, that and the other. So busy. I understand. It's not easy. Of course it's not easy. From this place, nothing's easy. To learn to live from this place. want to be with people who want me in their lives. I only want to do things with people that we're happy to do together. That's how we should be. A true human being is one who's already happy. Love, full of love and happiness, and who's happy to do things for others. Some of you know I go around and see a lady called Joy. She's 95 years old. I've known her now for getting on 15 years. She's been a regular part of my audience. But with lockdown and getting older and almost blind, she has had my care and attention since Desmond died more. And at the moment I'm reading Anna, the Russian book by Tolstoy, Anna Karenina. I forgot, see, I'm terrible at remembering these names. And she's just loving it. She's loving the fact that I can go around and dedicate time to read to her. I know you all do wonderful things. But maybe this is wrong of me to say this, but don't forget me. But now I've shared all this. It's just, that's it. Don't need to worry about it anymore. It's done. Right or wrong or indifferent, what does it matter? How many of you would sit down and share? Have you any reason why you should? I'm on my own, so that may be the reason. But I've got a different view on how we should live with one another. I hate all this. This is mine and this is yours mentality. As a young man, I used to think, why don't we share washing machines and cars and garden tools with one another? Why do we all have our own? I know the answers, of course, now, but when I was younger, maybe I should have gone into a community when I was very young. I did actually want to become a monk one time, or considered it. Actually, I considered even becoming a lighthouse keeper because I didn't feel capable of fitting in. I hid behind the cello in orchestras, although I was anxious all the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot of anxiety, getting all those notes right, not playing any wrong notes. I don't think I could do a 6-hour cello day. Used to. Anyway, my path has led me to here. Your path has led you to there. There's no blame. No praise or blame is the phrase we used to say in community. No praise or blame, it's just what it is. But we learned to discipline ourselves. But mainly we learned to take responsibility. Anyway, it's locked down now, so none of you are able to visit me. So once all this is over, maybe we can get together. Have a lovely time last Christmas with you all. What am I going to do this Christmas? But in theory, the person who's awake and enlightened, every day is Christmas. Every day is a happy occasion. Every day should be a day of giving. Giving and receiving. But everyone is clasping hold. Mine, mine, mine. This is mine. Look what I've got. That was one of my prayers when I was 23 or 24. I was walking down Sydenham Road and I was praying to God, because I don't want anything to hold me up other than you. I don't want any scaffolding holding me up. That was a tall order. What a prayer. You've got to watch what you pray for. And that's why I've ended up where I am. Because of that prayer. Only God is to hold me up. Love. Love holds me up. Not any I thoughts in the head. Want to know more about awakening and enlightenment? Check it out. Anyway, that's me. I'm sharing me. I don't have anyone. I don't have anyone. It says in the Bible you should hate your brothers and sisters. It says in the Bible that. What does it mean? I didn't understand what that meant. But I understand what it means now. It's not a case of hating them. It's just a case of understanding that we don't own anyone. No one owns anyone. We're on our own. But the emotions get the better of us. The clenched fist, feeling inside us that we need someone else to take responsibility for us. Always blaming others. You upset me, you hurt me. But it doesn't mean that we're going to stop being hurt. We are going to be hurt. But it's what we do with that hurt that matters. Because the more you open, the more vulnerable you are. Then we've got to see what we do. We can't prevent ourselves from being hurt 100%. We are going to be hurt, but we need not be hurt. So much. We don't need to be hurt, deliberately hurt. It's, But anyway, that's quite an in-depth subject. Controversial one too. That's 54 minutes worth. The mind is the mind can deceive us in so many ways. The mind isn't truth. What goes on in the head is not truth. It seems real, but it's not real. It's just like a cinema screen with a film on the screen. The film's not real. The screen's real, but not the film. It comes and goes. It's like the clouds. They come and go. They don't last long. There's my alarm. We'll leave it at that. I wonder how you'll respond. Hopefully it'll be a response and not a reaction. There's a difference between reaction. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction comes from here. Responding comes from here. How long I'll live like this, I don't know. I may go back to this place in half an hour's time. But that's the real place. That's true. This is what we truly are. That open hand disposition. Love, joy and happiness. God bless you all. Let us all see sense. Let's all see the ridiculousness of living like this. Thank you.